On top of a skyscraper, there's a painted circle with a single letter inside it, and that circle might be worth more than the building beneath it. No runway, no terminal building full of gates, just a slab of reinforced concrete, some paint, and a business model most people have never once thought about. Welcome to the heliport business, where the real estate is tiny, the regulations are massive, and the profit margins are surprisingly thin for something that looks so exclusive. Today we're asking a simple question with a complicated answer. What does it actually take to buy, build, or operate a heliport? Spoiler: it's not just painting a circle on a roof and waiting for money to fall from the sky. It's federal airspace approval, insurance policies that could make your eyes water, and neighbors who really don't like the sound of rotor blades. Let's take off. First, let's clear up what a heliport actually is. A heliport is any facility specifically designed for helicopters to take off, land, and sometimes refuel or park. That's different from a helipad, which is usually just a single landing spot, often part of a larger property like a hospital or hotel. A true heliport can include multiple landing pads, fuel storage, hangars, air traffic coordination, and passenger facilities. They range from small private pads on a corporate rooftop to major public heliports, handling dozens of flights a day in cities like New York or Sao Paulo. So when someone says buy a heliport, they could mean very different things depending on scale. Buying a single private helipad attached to an existing property, buying or building a small commercial heliport, or investing in one of the handful of major public heliports that operate almost like mini airports. Let's start with the biggest myth, that owning a heliport is mostly about the physical landing pad. In reality, the concrete circle is the cheapest part of this entire business. The real cost and complexity is airspace. And airspace, unlike land, isn't something you simply purchase. In the United States, any heliport has to be approved through the Federal Aviation Administration, which evaluates surrounding obstacles, approach and departure paths, and how your operations might affect nearby aircraft traffic. This process alone can take months or years, especially in dense urban areas where airspace is already crowded with commercial flight paths. On top of federal approval, you're also dealing with local zoning boards, and this is where things get genuinely difficult. Helicopters are loud, and nobody wants to live near one, which means proposed heliports often face fierce community opposition before a single flight ever happens. Public hearings, noise studies, and environmental reviews can drag on for years, and many proposed heliports never get built at all because of local pushback. This is why most successful heliports today are either decades old, grandfathered in under older, looser regulations, or located in areas specifically zoned for aviation use, like near hospitals, airports, or industrial districts. Building a brand new major heliport in a dense city today is almost as hard as building a brand new airport, just at a smaller scale. Now let's talk about cost number one, the physical infrastructure. Even though a heliport looks simple, the landing surface has to meet strict structural requirements, especially if it's on a rooftop. Rooftop heliports need reinforced structural supports capable of handling the weight and vibration of a landing aircraft, which often means expensive retrofitting on older buildings. You also need proper lighting for night operations, wind indicators, fire suppression equipment, and clearly marked safety zones around the landing area. Ground-level heliports need enough surrounding clear space, called the safety area, to handle emergency landings and rotor wash without endangering nearby people or property. Cost number two, fuel infrastructure, if you plan to offer it. Many heliports install jet fuel storage tanks so helicopters can refuel on site, which is a significant additional revenue stream, but also a significant safety and regulatory burden. Fuel storage requires specialized containment systems, environmental permits, regular safety inspections, and serious insurance coverage in case of spills or fire. Some smaller heliports skip fuel service entirely, accepting fewer amenities in exchange for dramatically simpler operations and lower liability exposure. Cost number three, insurance. And this is where heliport economics genuinely surprise people. Aviation liability insurance is notoriously expensive, and a facility where aircraft are actively taking off and landing near people and property multiplies that cost significantly. If a helicopter using your facility is ever involved in an accident, even one that isn't your operational fault, your heliport can still be named in resulting lawsuits. This is why many heliport operators carry insurance policies worth many millions of dollars, a cost that has to be absorbed before you've made a single dollar from operations. Cost number four, staffing and air traffic coordination. Busier heliports need trained personnel to coordinate landing schedules, communicate with incoming aircraft, and manage ground operations safely. Some larger facilities need firefighting crews on standby, since helicopter incidents require specialized emergency response different from standard fire services. None of this comes cheap, and unlike a small regional airport, a heliport rarely has enough flight volume to justify a huge full-time staff, creating a constant tension between safety requirements and operating costs. Now let's talk about how heliports actually make money, because this is genuinely one of the more surprising parts of the business. The most straightforward revenue source is landing fees, charging aircraft operators a set fee every time they use the facility. These fees can range from relatively modest amounts at smaller facilities to several $100s per landing at premium urban heliports with high demand and limited alternatives. Some heliports also charge parking or tie-down fees for helicopters that stay on site between flights, similar to how airports charge for aircraft parking. Fuel sales, if offered, can be a meaningful revenue stream, since heliport operators typically mark up fuel prices to cover the cost of storage, safety compliance, and delivery logistics. Some heliports generate revenue through long-term lease agreements with specific helicopter charter companies, tour operators, or corporate clients who want guaranteed, reliable access. This is especially common at heliports, serving high-demand markets like emergency medical services, corporate executive transport, or tourist sightseeing flights over cities and landmarks. Speaking of tourism, sightseeing tour operators represent one of the largest and most reliable revenue sources for heliports located near major attractions. Cities with iconic skylines or natural landmarks often see heavy helicopter tour traffic, and heliports serving those routes can generate consistent daily revenue from tour company landing fees. Medical heliports operate on an entirely different model, usually owned or subsidized by hospitals rather than run as independent profit centers, since their primary purpose is emergency patient transport rather than direct revenue generation. Corporate heliports attached to office buildings or hotels often aren't standalone profit centers at all. They're amenities designed to attract high-value tenants or guests willing to pay premium rates for the convenience of skipping ground traffic entirely. This is actually one of the most interesting parts of heliport economics. Many heliports don't need to be profitable on their own, because their real value is boosting the value of the property attached to them. A hotel with helicopter access can charge dramatically higher rates for its top suites, and an office building with a private heliport can command premium commercial rents from executives who value the time savings. So in many cases, the heliport itself is a loss leader, a strategic amenity rather than an independent business, subsidized by the increased value it brings to everything around it. This is very different from a public commercial heliport, which absolutely needs to generate enough landing fee revenue on its own to justify its existence. Now here's where things get genuinely challenging. Urban air mobility. Companies developing electric vertical takeoff and landing aircraft, known as eVTOLs, are betting heavily on a future where short-hop urban air travel becomes far more common and far more affordable than traditional helicopter service. If that future arrives, existing heliports could see a massive surge in demand, essentially becoming the equivalent of bus stops for a whole new form of urban transportation. Several companies are already investing in what they call vertiports, next-generation heliports specifically designed for electric aircraft, with charging infrastructure instead of traditional jet fuel systems. This represents a genuinely exciting speculative opportunity, but it also comes with real uncertainty, since eVTOL technology, certification, and public acceptance are all still very much in early stages. So who actually buys or owns heliports today? Many are owned directly by the businesses they serve. Hospitals owning their own medical helipads, hotels owning rooftop pads, corporations owning executive transport facilities. Public commercial heliports are often owned by city governments, port authorities, or specialized aviation infrastructure companies that manage multiple facilities across different cities. For private investors, direct heliport ownership is rare and highly specialized, usually requiring aviation industry expertise and deep pockets for insurance and regulatory compliance. A more realistic path for most investors is through companies operating helicopter charter services, tourism operations, or urban air mobility infrastructure, which often lease or partner with heliport facilities rather than owning them outright. For entrepreneurs looking at smaller opportunities, one growing niche is partnering with property owners to add helicopter access to existing buildings, essentially acting as an aviation consultant and operator rather than owning land yourself. This model lets you capture revenue from landing fees and charter partnerships without carrying the massive capital cost of owning the underlying real estate. So here's the real answer to, so you want to buy a heliport. You're not buying a landing pad, you're buying into a tangled web of federal airspace approval, local zoning politics, aviation-grade insurance, and a business model that often works better as a value-adding amenity than a standalone profit center. It's part real estate, part aviation authority, part insurance liability, and part status symbol. Done right, it can quietly boost the value of an entire property or generate steady fee income from a captive market with nowhere else to land. Done wrong, it's a very expensive, very loud, very litigious hole in the roof that regulators and neighbors will fight you over for years. And that, right there, is the real business hiding behind every painted circle you've ever glanced at on top of a skyscraper without a second thought.